Captain Mo Collins with Washington Township Fire Department. Today we're going to talk about overhaul and some techniques that can help save energy. I always like to say that overhaul is a part of firefighting that they leave out of the brochures. It's very hot, dirty, nasty work that we have to do at a point when our adrenaline from the initial firefight is worn off. So it's a lot easier for firefighters to get injured during overhaul. So we're going to talk about some techniques today that will take less energy, give you some more energy for the next alarm, and save you hopefully from getting injured. Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about is opening walls. You can use a Halligan to do this, but it's going to be very labor intensive, as firefighter Russell here will show you. Go ahead. All right, you'll notice that this wall is plaster and lath construction, so it's going to be very difficult to get through. Okay. The technique for doing this to open up the wall is to use your 6-foot hook. In this case, we're going to use an all-steel roof. All right, good. Okay, Firefighter Johnson's going to demonstrate making a starter hole with it, getting the hook down into the wall, down to the sill, and then hopefully that's going to be able to pull out a big section of this. This technique's going to work a lot better with regular drywall than it would with plaster lath construction. Okay. So you'll notice opening up sections a lot less labor intensive than it would be using a Halligan to get that size hole. Okay, the next thing to talk about is pulling ceilings. You want to try and start at the entrance to the room using the protection of the doorway. You never want to pull ceiling right down over your head. The other problem if you start back here, you could lose a big section of it, especially with this plaster. A big section could come down. There's fire underneath that. Now you're going to have burning debris between you and the door. Another problem that we have is a lot of times you'll hit the joists when you're trying to make your initial hole because the head of the hook or pipe pole is a lot bigger. So Firefighter Willen's going to demonstrate how you can have issues trying that. Go ahead. Okay. Okay, a technique that you can do is to use the opposite end or the butt end of the hook or the pipe pole and make a couple starter holes. That's a lot smaller area. You're less likely to contact one of the rafters as you're doing it. You want to make the hole big enough that you can spin the hook around and fit the head of it up in there. Now that we've got the starter hole, we're going to spin the hook back around and use the head of it. You're going to start trying to pull ceiling. You're going to watch for the joists and then work along those with the rafters. And that should pull big sections, especially with this plaster and lath construction, and pull down big sections of it to make it easier. Open up a bigger area, get some water of it. Go ahead. You'll notice this is insulated with the firefighter's friend, cellulose insulation. Respiratory protection is going to be important for this stuff. You don't want to breathe in the fibers of it. It's also important that you overhaul very thoroughly with the insulation because fire has a tendency to finger underneath it and it'll run the whole length of the attic. Okay, that's good. The other thing to be concerned about is once this stuff gets wet, it's very heavy. You'll have large areas of ceiling that will collapse on you with very little warning. So you can see how he was working along the rafters there to try and open up a bigger section. This, again, is going to work better with plain old drywall than it does with this plaster and lath construction. But it still will save you a little bit of energy, make overhaul a little bit easier, and hopefully prevent any injuries. Okay, another big hazard to be aware of and why you need to control utilities, get the electricity shut down. You'll notice the wiring that's run through here and how Firefighter Russell is connected to it with his hook. Especially with the metal handle hook, that's going to be a big electrical hazard. You also see there's conduit up there running to this light. You could even have gas lines up there in older homes or different types of construction. So always hazards you need to be aware of when you're pulling ceiling.